Okay, I got a little story for you. This is how I came about finding out that I had ADHD. Okay. And if you are listening to this and you have gone through this process yourself, I'm fascinated by hearing what that story is because it actually can be very life changing and very pivotal in realizing who you truly are at the core. So, back in 2018, I'd been doing some serious counseling. I'd been doing something called EMDR therapy, which actually is very trauma based, and I was deep into it. Okay. And in one of my sessions with my fabulous counselor, I had said something super random. And I had joked, her and I both were joking, and I just looked at her and I said, "Oh, that's just my ADD talking." And she looked at me. She actually closed her book. She's sitting there with her legs crossed. And she closed her notebook and she looked at me and she goes, "Erin, have you ever considered that?" And I remember looking at her and thinking, nobody's ever asked me that. And I'm 35 years old. I've been in counseling sessions for almost 20 years with different people in 3 different provinces that I lived. I'd had 2 babies at the time. I'd gone through postpartum depression. And I was like, you know what? I have considered it, but I never said it out loud. It always just swum around in my head. And I was like, no, that's just for kids. I didn't know adults could have ADHD. So, turned out that my counselor who I'd been working with actually had a side job in the school system assessing children for ADHD and diagnosing them. So I was able to go through this process, and I was very fortunate because I know a lot of people struggle with where to be able to access this information, how to do it. It's very expensive. But long story short, I was able to do this through some visual and audio cues that I just sat down at a keyboard and I tapped different responses, and it was based on your time of your response and your accuracy. And so it turns out that I have high functioning ADHD. And I didn't quite know what that meant. And the reason that I share this is because after that happened, I started to have this awareness of a lot of areas in my life where this was evident. And I went through a phase of really being grateful for it. And then I also went through a phase where I was like very in denial about it. Like, is this a prison sentence? Am I going to have this forever? Like, what? And I just went hardcore with the research, right? Like I read all sorts of books. My Audible was full of stuff. And I realized that not just how important it was to understand what ADHD was, but how confusing it is that it's misdiagnosed in adults constantly. It's misdiagnosed in children. And it's something that is not just boys, little boys. You always hear about the hyper kid that's ADHD. As a grown woman, I was like, how on earth do I go about my life now knowing that I have this? And so that is the reason that I went into coaching. I realized that the research and the time and the energy and interest I had in understanding mental health and mental wellness, it paired very well with my social work career, but it also paired very well with my interest in being a coach. And it was something I'd always wanted to do. And then I started out my business. I was very broad. I didn't really have a main people that I would work with. And now I've realized that I'm very blessed to work with women and men who are coming to me as well with ADHD. And so when you have this knowing in your heart that something major is about to shift or that you're meant to shift, you can't do it alone. You truly can't do it alone. I mean, you're going to be going down various rabbit holes of researching this online. But let me tell you, it's really important to have someone who's been in your shoes and can come alongside you. And so that is what I'm super passionate about as a coach. And I want to offer to you the chance to meet with me one-on-one to explore what that looks like for you going forward. Because you deserve to write your own chapter. You deserve to pick up the pen and not let someone else write it for you. Not your workplace, not your family, not your spouse, not your kids, not society in general. You get to be responsible. So if this lands with you, I highly suggest you take advantage of the chance to meet with me, and I will put my calendar link below for you to take advantage of that at this time. Hope you have a beautiful day ahead. I'll see you soon.